If there's anything I can be sure of, you've only got a few days left where you can say your bracket's perfect. It's all going to go to hell. But for the next hour, we're going to get you caught up on everything you need to know. The tournament is out. The men's tournament is ready. And we're going to break it down for you. It's Tourney Bracket Live, hanging out on Yahoo Sports. There are a bunch of us. We got our own, starting 4, I guess that's what we'll do with this. We'll make it that. One big guy and then a bunch of the rest of us. You know these guys. Kevin O'Connor, Ice Young, Marcus Morris. I'm Jason Fitz. For the next hour, we're going to go through everybody you need to know on the bubble. We're going to help you have a perfect bracket. We're going to tell you how you can win $50,000. We're going to do all of that. And it's going to be stacked. But ladies and gentlemen, let's start with the most important thing. Now that we know what's going to happen all across the board, Marcus Morris, your first storyline, the big thing sticking out to you, like the number one thing you are juiced about or worked up about after seeing the committee make their determinations is?
This might be a little biased, but I hate seeing St.Johns and Florida in the same bracket.
Ooh,
that
hurt your heart.
2 of my Final 4 picks. I'm going to just skip right to it. I hate seeing that.
Yeah, no, see, there's an honest moment for you because we had a production meeting earlier and sat in the conference room and Marcus was like, you know what? I think St. John's and Florida could make the national championship. I'm not going to lie. As the resident troll in the room, I giggled a little bit. Like when we found out that they were going to take on each other, I laughed. All right, we'll break that region down. Ice, I mean, you're wearing Carolina blue. I'm just saying.
No,
I threw that at her. Threw that at her. What do you got? What's your big storyline?
The number 1 overall seed is Auburn. So I'm going to tell you this stat right now. There has never been a team that has lost the last 3 out of 4 regular season games and won a national championship. So immediately you should know Auburn is not in my Final 4. I don't think they can get it done, stat or not.
I'm just telling you, if I could bring in a whole gospel choir to sing hallelujah while you said that, I'm feeling that. We'll get to our picks. Believe me, we've got a lot to get to. KOC, what do you got? The first storyline for you.
The back-to-back champions, UConn, 8 seed, potentially becoming a first-round loss, facing Oklahoma in the first round with Jeremiah Fears, potential top 10 pick. So many clutch moments for him this season, game-winning and one. Down the stretch in that loss to Kentucky, down 10 late. So many clutch buckets by him, clutch steals. UConn's 94th on Ken Palm defensive rating. Now that they have a shaky perimeter defense trying to stop Jeremiah Fears, we could see a UConn loss in the first round after back-to-back championships. Just kind of crazy.
Yeah, could. I think will. As a guy that lives in Connecticut, I see way too much of UConn. They are a show. Anybody that says, oh, man, I don't want to take on this UConn team, they got the DNA. No, this UConn team totally different than every other year that we've seen.
Very different.
You don't just replace leadership, right? Like, you guys know this. Like, you don't just suddenly wake up. And this is going to happen sometimes. When you constantly have to rebuild your roster, some years you'll hit. UConn hit last year. This year they ain't going to hit.
Man, I just think that it's a different season, right? You got the NIL, you got a lot of guys that didn't come back, and they're moving around. Not a big fan of UConn this year. It'll be interesting to see if they can get past that.
Just means we'll get something new. I'll give you my storyline to watch, and I'll use it to get us into our next conversation about bubbles, okay? I'm going to throw a little shade at my buddy Jay Billis. I've known Jay for a long time. He's smarter than most of us. He's brilliant, and he's great at what he does. Now that I've said nice things about Jay basically said we're paying too much attention to the bottom of the bracket, the 30 or 35th best team in the country, essentially telling all of us who cares that North Carolina got in over a team like, let's say, Indiana. My answer to you, Jay, is I care, not because I care about the bracket particularly. I care for every kid that went out there and busted their ass all year to play great basketball for Indiana, that put up more resume, in my opinion, than anything North Carolina can. This is not just about who's in and who's out for the purpose of us trying to give you $50,000 in a bracket challenge, which we will get to. This is also about every single kid from West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio State, Boise State, all looking around and saying, man, did we miss out on the tournament just because our name isn't North Carolina? Because to me right now, y'all, like that's how it feels. The ACC this year was trash. And that doesn't mean that I disrespect Duke. I think Duke is a great basketball team. But the ACC was not good. So for me, for a team from a conference that was not good enough to get in over a team that I think several teams clearly had a higher resume is a problem for me. So let's get into a little of this bubble top. Ice, your thoughts on North Carolina getting in?
Yeah, ludicrous.
There we go.
Ludicrous. They are 1-12 in quad 1 games. Kev, 1-12. If you did anything in your life 1-12, we would limit you a failure, and we would never talk to you again. What is going on? I absolutely think it's the name. I will say this though. they won some games in the ACC tournament that I don't think we expected them to win. I didn't expect them to beat Wake Forest. I didn't expect them to win 2 games in the ACC tournament. And then I thought that they passed the eye test a little bit in the way they competed with Duke without Cooper Flagg on the floor. So they winning 8 out of their last 10 games did a lot for them, but I still think teams like Indiana and Boise State and Ohio State had a better resume and could have gotten the nod.
I got to admit, though, from a draft perspective, selfishly, I'm glad they're in. I get to see Jackson and Powell at least for one more game against Trey Johnson in Texas. So from my perspective, I'm happy to see them in because we get to see those potential late first, early second round guys at least for one more game.
And I agree with you, too. Wake Forest is trash. ACC is trash. But listen, the other teams, I mean, is there glaring differences that they need to actually be in? I mean, they've won some okay games, but I still believe that North Carolina is a better team than all the teams that you've named.
Oh, I don't know, man. Like, I keep going back to that Duke game where they're like, well, they played Duke close. Okay, that's like saying, you know what? If you tied both of his hands together and you gave me a ladder, I dunked on Marcus Morris. Like, okay, they were without their 2 best players in that process, and they were a shell of themselves, and they were still kicking the snot out of it. So for me, that's such a hard look, you know, and I hear everybody want to talk about quad 2 wins, but like, when did we get to this point where we're suddenly digging for quad 2 wins as some reason to separate it?
Especially when you're the Tar Heels and you know that they're going to play a tough non-conference slate. And then ACC, it was trash, but they still had opportunities. You had 13 opportunities for quad 1, and you only win 1. Again, if you went 1 for 12 for anything in your life, we would write you off as a failure. I'm not on the committee, and I didn't wear blue for the Tar Heels today.
Well, I know you didn't. I had to get the little sprinkled in fire out of the gates. By the way, we honestly thought that the bubble watch conversation would be about did Texas get in or North Carolina get in.
Right.
To that point, they both got in. And before we get into breaking down the regions, let's also get to the other massive storyline out of this, which is 14 teams out of the SEC. Historic. The record number was 11 before. It is now 14. And Marcus, when you see 14 teams get in from a tournament or from one conference into the tournament, are they exhausted or does iron sharpen iron?
Man, I think it's iron sharpen iron. You have to be like, let's be correct on this. The SEC was the best conference in college basketball by far, a large margin. I think it's just different that it's a lot of teams, but I just feel as though you have to grant them that for being just that good over the season.
There are 3 opportunities with the bracket for SEC teams to face each other in the second round. So it's possible that we'll see teams play for a 3rd time this season in the second round of the tournament. I just think the depth in this league, obviously it's huge, but it's stylistically also the depth that these teams can wear other teams down. You know you've got grimy rebounders. You know you've got tough defenders. And then you know you've got tremendous guard play. I mean, Texas is a team that I have been on and off with throughout the regular season, but the way they compete in the SEC tournament, I think they're going to win their first round game and continue to advance. Like, I think they look primed to make a good run. But with all these teams in this conference, like, you just know that they're battle tested. So if I'm any other team in the country, I'm kind of like, dang, you've been playing Auburn and Tennessee and Oklahoma and Arkansas day in and day out. Like, how can we compete with that?
Yeah. Also, though, let's get to the top seeds because all that competition didn't help Florida. Okay, your top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament as we go bracket by bracket. But the top 4 seeds at this point, Auburn, gets the number 1 overall seed, even though they did, as Ice pointed out earlier, lose 3 of their last 4 games in the regular season. Duke, even though they're injured, gets the number 2 overall seed in this process. Houston gets the number 3 overall seed, and then the number 4 overall seed goes to Florida, a team that went in and handled Tennessee, wins the SEC, did everything. I mean, I genuinely, throughout the course of the day, kept asking myself, how high are they going to put Florida? And I think what we learned in this process, y'all, is like, the committee didn't really care about the conference champion. The conference tournaments in general were not relevant to their decision making because you can't tell me Florida belongs at 4 and Auburn belongs at 1 if we factor that in.
Florida looks like the most dangerous team in the country right now. They are. Oh, look at Mark. Grinning.
Hey, listen.
I'm not picking your team.
When I first walked in here, Florida was my team, hands down. They've been very impressive. I was thrown off a little bit when I seen that Auburn was number 1. Actually, what happened in the last 4 games of their conference tournament. It doesn't even make sense to me. Florida is by far the best team right now.
From a draft perspective, when you look at like the SEC, I know we was just talking about the SEC in general, but when you look at that amount of talent, like how is it as simple as some of these teams are just more talented? Is the SEC just better than everybody?
I mean, it feels like SEC football right now.
Yeah.
It's like by far the best conference. From a scouting perspective, it's nice to see top talent face other top talent over and over again throughout the season. I mean, you get to see a Johnny Broom super senior go against a bunch of good talent throughout the entire year. It's a good test. Marcus is Florida. You know, I think it's going to be very exciting to see how Alex Condon looks throughout this tournament. We know he played rugby growing up. We know the energy he brings. What can he do in this stage at this point with some of these games? And Walter Clayton this year for Florida as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Zion Poland, I loved him last year for Florida. Deep sleeper guy in the NBA, now playing in the G League on a two-way. But now Walter Clayton stepping up, more playmaking this year, and he's completely flourished with it. Florida checks so many different boxes.
Yeah,
Can
their
I
pick
just-
and roll game, man, tough to guard.
Can I just sprinkle a little, dynamite in here and walk away? Like, why does nobody care about Houston? Like Houston.
Oh, I care.
Okay, do? All right.
Ice cares about Houston.
Ice cares about Houston.
I do, because in the tournament you need defense. You need defense to travel, and Houston is a team that defends like their life is on the line every single game. They are pests. They're grimy. Opponents scoring less than 60 points per game. And it's a Houston team led by LJ Cryer that can score the basketball too when they're knocking down threes from the outside. I just love that they play defense as well as they do offense, but more so their calling card is they're going to hold you under 60 points per game in the tournament, and that's a team that you just don't want to see.
Man, Kelvin Sampson has got them guys to buy. When I say not even in, all the way in. They're 8 deep. Guys are interchangeable. They track the screens, switch the screens. They got guys that can score the ball. Very complete team. I watched them take on a BYU team in the Big 12 tournament, and once I seen that game, I was like, oh, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. I said, oh, Houston might just win the national championship.
It's the third straight year getting a number 1 seed. So I also just feel like it's about that time for them to capitalize on this number 1 seed.
I mean, they have a dominant defense, and you mentioned some of the scoring, like Cryer, but also Uzan.
Yeah.
What he did in the conference tournament, he has improved dramatically since he was at Oklahoma, transferred. Guys improved under Kelvin Sampson. And Uzan, connective piece, good playmaker, helps run the show, but he can score and get buckets when you need it as well.
Well, we are just getting started on number 1 seeds because, frankly, we're here to help you with your bracket. And that means you can get in on the action with Yahoo's Bracket Mayhem game for both the men's and the women's tournament. We got them for both. Turn your brackets into $50,000. Fill out a bracket, enter for a chance to win $25K in both tournaments. All you got to do is head to yahoofantasy.com/tourney. Again, yahoofantasy.com/tourney to sign up if you win the $50,000. If you win both of them, maybe, hit the show up, since obviously we helped you. Okay.
Let me hold something.
I mean, just a little something.
A little something.
Take us out to dinner. I like that. If you're just tuning in, we're going to go through everything. And let's start that process now as we get you caught up on the brackets. We will start with the South. We're going to break everything down bracket by bracket, give you some of the best storylines that we think are there across the board. And, guys, I'm just going to take this, all right? Usually I defer to you guys, I'm 5'9", 165 pounds. What the hell do I know about playing in the league? But I know this. I know a bracket when I see it. I'm telling you, Michigan State, Sparty got a gift from the basketball gods, y'all. You look at this bracket and the way it plays out. Now, I've got my concerns with Michigan State's outside scoring ability from behind the three-point line. I will say that all day. I do not have concerns with their ability to be efficient. I do not have concerns with their three-point defense. And you look at the way that this bracket lays out, it is hard for me not to see a path, knowing that I agree with Ice and I don't believe in Auburn. Man, I think Michigan State comes out of this bracket. I think Michigan State got they got the easiest of all the 2 seeds.
I love that because when we take a look at St. John's and their route as a 2 seed, it's tough. But I agree with you. I think Michigan has the ability easy to beat whether Marquette or New Mexico that comes out of there. The highest over there above the bracket is Iowa State. They're right now without Keyshawn Gilbert for the tournament. So them as a 3 seed is really like an Iowa State at a 5 or 6 seed. That is not them locked and loaded. It's a tough team that can score the basketball at a high rate, but I don't see anybody there that I can say with certainty, can stop them in their path. And I think Tom Izzo's squad, even if they're not hitting the 3, they play defense so well that they create so many advantage opportunities. All they play is 3-on-2, 2-on-1. and they find a way to convert.
Very competitive this year. I think Michigan State definitely blows through this one. Tom Izzo, I don't even think guys even have to play. I think he can outcoach this. I really do. I believe he's a mastermind. I don't see. I had to agree with you. I don't see no real trouble.
And it's
first couple games.
It's crazy to me because depth, right? Like,
yeah.
you know at some point in the tournament you're going to get in foul trouble. Okay, well, they got 10 guys. I mean, half the time they're putting up points and they barely got somebody in double figures. Then you know you got to have some people that'll score. We'll go over some of those guys over the course of the show. Like, I think they're really well poised to get in there. There is one game that's interesting. I want to get your thoughts on Texas A&M versus Yale. We all love upsets, right? 4 versus 13, Marcus. You know, Texas A&M, somebody that has had some good moments and also some head scratchers this year. And then Yale just feels like one of those obnoxious, sneaky Ivy League teams that comes in and just destroys somebody's bracket.
Hey, I'm a shout my brother out on this one. He loves Yale. Yale's been his team he's been rocking with all year out of the Ivy League. I'm a big fan of Texas A&M, right? They have a lot of seniors, a lot of guys that play really tough. The guard play is very critical. Can they stay in front of the two dynamic guards that Texas A&M have? Ivy League guys can shoot the ball. They move the ball really well. Yale's a really good team, 13-1 in the conference, but now they get in front of some dogs. I think Texas A&M blow them out.
Yeah.
Blow them out.
Blow 'em out. Wow.
Oh, Ice. Thoughts, Ice?
Yeah, my thoughts are Yale on this, and the numbers really support this. 1, Yale shoots 38% from the 3. Texas A&M, a team that has sometimes struggled to guard the 3 in SEC play. I also didn't like
SEC in the Ivy League.
You're absolutely right. But the Ivy League, let me tell you about the Ivy League.
And that Ivy League.
They play really smart basketball, really smart basketball. The Ivy League plays. So I think they're going to challenge Texas A&M. But I wasn't impressed with the Aggies' last showing versus Texas in the SEC tournament. Yeah. I was a double overtime game, so tough game to pull out. But they didn't pull it out. Also, Yale specialized in field goal percentage, 49%. It's just a high efficiency offense. I think it's going to challenge Texas A&M defensively. But that would be a fun upset. I think anytime we see an Ivy League team win, we're happy for them.
Look, I mean, unless, yeah, I agree with that. SEC fans are already losing their mind. If SEC fans get 14 teams in.
Right, somebody's got to lose.
And Yale beats them in the first round. Oh, it's the chirping is going to start so quickly.
Well, I know my brother would be happy, so there's that. But I think Texas A&M.
I think Yale might have a better shot if you and your brother were playing for him. I'm just, okay. What about anybody that stands out? Like, is there a Cinderella or a disrespect angle in this one? Like, I want to be clear here, guys. One thing that we're not going to do over the course of this is just manufacture a Cinderella. So some brackets, I think we all kind of agreed didn't have them. But is there somebody that you look at and you're like, man, I don't love the seeding or positioning?
I think there's 2 in here. 1, Louisville being an 8 seed. They got to the ACC championship, and you get an 8 seed. That's what you're rewarded with as a Power 4 conference. I feel like that's tough. And then Michigan getting a 5 seed, but they just won the Big Ten tournament. Wisconsin lost the Big Ten tournament, but has a 3 seed. I feel like there's a little bit disrespect there for the Wolverines.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I mean that. Like, I'm still shooketh, right? Because as good as the shooketh is my new made-up word. As good as the SEC is, the Big Ten got 8 teams in this tournament.
Yeah.
And I still think Indiana got robbed. I think they should have had 9 teams in, right? So I'm looking at a conference that in and of itself deserves some of that conversation. And to your point, Michigan won it. Feels like they were lower seeded than I expected in here. I think there's a little bit of chip on the Big Ten shoulders.
Do you see Danny Wolf as a guy able to elevate his play to help lead Michigan deep into the tournament, though?
He's going to have to. He's going to have to. I think the important thing for his game is picking his spots well, knowing that you're going to be the focal point on a scout, and so you can't look to
tone down behind the back passes?
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, we're in the tournament now, so you can't be flipping it left and right. You have to take care of the basketball, especially from a guard perspective in the tournament. And that 12 game against UC San Diego, it's some guys that I work with at CBS that are very, very big on UC San Diego and that 12 seed. They think that could be a potential upset if Michigan doesn't take care of the basketball.
I think Michigan is just too big. Right? I just think the size really matters for Michigan. If you watch them play this year, anytime they had the size advantage, they dominated down low. I really like the 4 or 5 pick and roll. I like Wolf. Been a big fan of his. If you cannot match their size, you don't have a chance.
All right, Kevin. Player to watch in this bracket. Who you got your eye on?
Cam Jones from Marquette. Cam Jones returns for his senior year. up with playmaking, 3.3 assist-to-turnover ratio this season, but three-point percentage way down from what he did last year. Shot only 20% on dribble jumper threes this year, according to Synergy. Can Cam Jones elevate his scoring in the way that he's elevated his playmaking without Tyler Kolek there after he went to the NBA last season? They faced New Mexico, 19th defense, Ken Palm. It's going to be tough for Marquette, but if they get through that first round, Michigan State in the second round, who knows if Cam Jones is able to play at the level that we know he can.
Yeah, I like that pick. There's a Michigan State player I'll get to later that I like a little bit more. I'm just saying, all right.
I'm with you on that guy.
We got to make our picks for the region. Okay, so we'll start with Kevin. Who do you got in this region coming out?
Michigan State.
Ice?
Sparty.
I got Sparty too.
I like Iowa State. I know a lot of people don't like this one. I like the Big 12. I like the guard play. They have a lot of guys, really deep team, really mature team. Yeah, I like Iowa State.
So no faith in Auburn. Nobody has faith
None.
in Auburn.
I don't like with teams that coming in 3 and 4 of their last 4 games and just get a number 1 pick. I feel like it's a ton of pressure on them now, and they're not playing well. I know as a player, like we're in the locker room, like, hey, we have to get this shit together now, right? We're the focal point of the whole tournament. We're number 1. It'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back in the first game, actually, like have some momentum and have some rhythm to win the game. But I like Iowa State.
I think Auburn also get a little unlucky. Like Louisville, Creighton, both teams that could have been ranked higher some years.
Exactly.
So we'll see what that is. It's Tourney Bracket Live, by the way. If you're just tuning in, we're going to be with you going through everything you need to know. He's Marcus Morris. He's Ice Young. He's Kevin O'Connor. I'm Jason Fitz. And let's get to the next bracket on the board, and that is the East bracket coming at you now. And the East, obviously, this is all about Cooper Flagg. I want to get you the latest, okay? Because according to the latest information we're getting, Duke is targeting Friday as a potential return for Cooper Flagg. I'm a little surprised, guys. As we start right there, Duke made it clear that he would be available for the tournament. I think that was important for their seeding. They wanted to make sure the committee knew that they would have their biggest star. But to me, it's a little bit suspect. You shouldn't need Cooper Flagg to win a game against a 16 team. So I'm surprised.
Yeah, you don't need him, but I think the important thing is here, one is that he's rested. Like, can't understate that enough. You're trying to win a national championship, you got to win 6 games. He's got to be good and healthy and confident for 6 games. And what we saw from Duke in the ACC tournament was that they can win without him. So I don't think I'm expecting him to play a ton of minutes here, Marcus.
Yeah, like we said when we was talking, I think you give him 20 minutes. You make sure the will is good. You get a full week of practice or ice up and whatever. Obviously, I can't say they're going to win because obviously we know what can possibly happen. But you give Cooper a little bit of time, 20 minutes, get his feet wet, and, they can also win without him. We all seen that. So, I mean, listen, he has to play.
The concern I have, guys, is what's it look like? And they got a game, you got 24 hours rest, you got a game again. And as they advance, presumably, taking on Mississippi State or Baylor, taking on eventually a team like Arizona or Oregon Ice, if you're taking on Cooper, you're attacking Cooper, right?
Oh, I'm attacking that ankle every time. Every time. Yeah. I think you have to. I think you have to test the ankle and see how he's feeling. Like, that's just not being mean. That's being a competitor. But I also think, too, it's still a young team, right? This is a team that majority is freshmen and sophomores. This is their first time in the tournament. So I think all the expectations, all the pressure, all the storylines could also maybe get to Cooper a little bit.
I mean, I think with him, when the injury first happened, yes, you'd be shocked in that moment. But then he's in a wheelchair. Yes, you'd be shocked then when he's going to get x-rays. But then he's on the bench in the second half, walking under his own power, no boot on his foot, looking totally fine. Maybe he's just like LeBron where he can just regenerate. He's just one of those guys where he turns an ankle. It's like, oop, I look like I'm out for the season, but then you're right back. He might just be that type of guy. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Duke to play him. Get the nerves out of the way with that first 1-16 matchup. Play him 15, 20 minutes per game. Hopefully a blowout for Duke you'd be expecting, and then rest him for the second half and be ready for the round of 32.
But I'm going to ask the room a question. We've fallen in love with Cooper Flagg. Is it justified? How good, to you, when you watch Cooper's tape, how over the moon are you?
I mean, beyond what I could have expected. The expectations for Cooper entering the year were number 1 pick. And at this point, it's like, well, wait a minute. could he be top 5, top 10 player in the NBA someday? Because not only is he an elite defender as expected, not only is he an elite connector as a passer and all the little things that he does on the floor, but the scoring, the way he's developed with his ability to create shots from the perimeter, not only for his teammates, but for himself. And so obviously he's pivotal for Duke this year. Con Knipple, he had 14 pick and rolls in that game. Cooper went out. Season high for him, according to Synergy. We know other guys on that team can do something, but ultimately, you're going to have close games without him. Cooper Flagg is a guy that makes them a 1 seed, makes them a favorite, and he's the no-brainer number 1 pick this year. No questions asked.
I agree, man. I love his swag. I love the way he approaches the game, his pace. As an NBA player, and when you watch these younger kids, you want to see their pace. You want to see their change of direction. Does he understand the game? He is a complete basketball player, to your point. Once he gets into the NBA and gets into a system where they uses him in all his spots and get him to where he wants the ball at on the court, he has sky's the limit. I see number 1 pick. Me and my brother go back and forth on this all the time. I think he could be a really good NBA player, like top-notch NBA player.
Even a star.
Yes, for
Best
sure.
player on a championship team
And I
level.
love his parents, man. Did you see him dunk on the cat the other day and his mom? His mom on his head. Listen,
That's who he gets it from.
to me, that excites me. That means that the family everyone is invested in this kid, and it shows. Like, he comes with a fire to the game that you would love to see from a young kid like that.
All right, so let's look at the bracket as a whole, Ice. Is there a game that stands out to you like that's must-see TV?
Yes, I would say the 6-11 game between BYU and VCU. VCU, a team that is dangerous. They play defense, they get in passing lanes, they have 4 grad students that start for them. They're very experienced, and their head coach is Ryan Odom, which, if we remember, was the first person to pull off the 1-16 upset UMBC when they beat Virginia. So he knows how to win. I also think stylistically it's a fun game because BYU is a team that can score. They play a fun basketball game. They click passes and knock down shots from the outside. So I think it's just a matchup between a high-octane offense and then a stingy defense. I have VCU winning and representing the A-10.
Ooh.
I love that pick. I got a chance to see BYU at the Big 12 tournament against Houston, and I've seen a lot of flaws in their offense and their defense. They don't take care of the ball really well. VCU loves to pick up 94 feet. They have to have a guy to get in the paint to create those threes, right? Now, VCU's picking up. Who is the guy that's going to get other guys shots? And when they play fast, if VCU keeps up with that pace, can BYU also guard VCU, right?
Right.
Because they got some dogs and they got guys that know how to play the game. So, to me, I think that is maybe the best matchup this weekend.
And it's a critical matchup for Yegor Demon, not only for BYU this year, but from a draft perspective. A guy who's gotten top 5, top 10 hype all year, really has tailed off offensively throughout the year. He's got size, he can play make, but at the same time, going against the 23rd ranked defense per Ken Palm, this is a moment for Denham to really prove himself in a tough matchup against a bunch of dogs. And so far, I've been unimpressed. And to me, he looks like a guy that should go back to school next year and play with A.J. DeBonta.
Got to.
Number 1 prospect.
Got to.
Like, I think for Richie Saunders, they got a number of guys on that team. Talented team, for sure, but they need the A.J. DeBonta level talent in order to actually make a deep run, in my opinion.
The thing we all learned about Richie Saunders today, I didn't know. His grandfather came up with tater tots. His grandfather invented tater tots.
How cool.
There we go. That's a family legacy. Give me another player that you're looking at in this bracket as a whole.
VJ Edgecombe from Baylor, top 5 pick projected in the NBA draft this year. VJ Edgecombe, elite athlete, does a lot of the little things on the floor. You'll see him set a screen sometimes, for that matter. Just a great athlete, super quick. The shooting with him, 38% from 3 over his last 23 games after a slow start. We know he can shoot. We know he brings athleticism. Will there be a moment that Edgecombe needs to generate a bucket in an endgame situation? And that's when he's been up and down throughout his career in college, but also at the high school level. So can he elevate his play in the tournament for Baylor?
Let's make our picks for the region real quick. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Duke. If Coop come, I'm going with Duke.
Yeah, I feel like Duke, Coop's going to be healthy. I'm going Duke.
I am so close to picking Alabama. as the 2 seed. I can't because I don't think Grant Nelson is healthy. I don't think he's healthy, and he is too critical to their success as their 5 player for them to go far. So I think it's going to be Duke. And with that, I will say I think Duke has the easiest road out of all the number 1 seeds to get to the Final Four.
Can I piggyback off of that? Alabama does not play enough defense. They can score the ball with the best, but they do not guard at all, and I do not like that at all. So if he does come back, and you do say a Duke-Alabama matchup, who's going to guard Coop?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, I love a lot of the players on Alabama, like Mark Sears.
Great
little guard, 5'10", 5'11". Dude's awesome to watch, but they just don't defend enough, which is why I think it's Duke.
They're trying to outscore you. They're just trying to outscore you.
And I love that, too.
Yeah, they want to win 100
like
to 101.
Like
I get it.
I certainly go off on this after the game, but I'm still so frustrated that Alabama lost to Tennessee in a game where they just couldn't even inbounds a damn ball.
Yeah.
And now I got to trust you in the NCAA tournament. Like that stuff just rides in my head. Okay, if you're just tuning in, obviously 14 teams from the SEC, wild. If you're just tuning in, you probably also just figured out North Carolina and Texas both made the tournament. We were trying to figure out which one of them. Nah, they both went into this thing, and it looks like it could be a really tough tournament to predict. We're just getting started with that. But in the meantime, got to look at some Cinderellas. Time to see which team is bringing the Cinderella energy presented by the all-new Acura ADX. We're looking for you guys to identify which underdog teams have what it takes to be the Cinderella of this year's tournament. And I want to do this in a sincere way because peek behind the curtain, we're all sitting together and we're going over this bracket. There are years where you look at it and say, I love this 12 seed or I love this 15 seed we're all sleeping on. This year's a little tougher. I don't know that there are as many Cinderellas just out there flying around. So, Ice, is there a Cinderella that you look at and say, yeah, this team could go on a run?
There are a few. I feel like from some of the lower seeds, I think Akron. Akron is a team that shoots the 3, top 10 in the country. Everyone on the floor shoots the 3 for their team. So you get into a game in which Arizona is not guarding the 3 very well, or they get out in transition, they could upset them. And then the next game that they would have to win would be between Oregon and Liberty. I think that's possible. So I actually feel like Akron would be my sleeper and my 13th seed to get to the Sweet 16. I'm going to say it. On the other side, I think a team that's in the top 4 seeds, but that maybe we don't talk about enough, is Maryland. I think Maryland could be very, very good. Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah, you like Derik Queen.
I mean, he's such a funky player.
Yes.
He's kind of a throwback, but also kind of a modern style player with this dribble drive game. I mean, this dude looks like he's an NBA level player offensively. It's just a matter of defensively what level he reaches. But Maryland's a lot of fun to watch, in part because of Derik Queen's weird style of play.
I agree with that. I like Derik Queen. Good player. Really good player, really good touch. Play the mid-range. He got this little one-leg Dirk fadeaway that I like. Listen, man, he can be an NBA player. I think he could be an NBA All-Star. You don't have centers in the league moving. He give you that DeMarcus Cousins feel, right? Just not as
He's
big.
A great
That's not as big. Can shoot the 3. Great hands. I love the long T-shirt. I hope he take that right to the NBA and keep it going. But I love Derik Queen.
That's part of the throwback. He also looks like a throwback a little bit.
Is there a Cinderella out there that you like in this thing?
I'm a rock with McNeese State. McNeese, however you.
McNeese,
yeah, McNeese. I like McNeese. I like the swag, man. I just like how they come into the gym with the speaker, got their manager coming in, posting. I love the way they just handle themselves. Listen, a team that's playing free like that, I think they have a shot.
The Maryland conversation is only interesting to me because I won't say that you can be a Cinderella when you're sitting where they're sitting.
Right.
But I do think that we're looking at a pack of Big Ten schools in Maryland, Michigan that we already talked about, Michigan State we've talked about, like Wisconsin. These are all teams that, while we were all salivating over the SEC, I could see going on deep runs in this thing. So it's interesting. That's who we think will bring the Cinderella energy this March, presented by the all-new Acura ADX, crafted to match your energy. We got to keep going through the brackets, but first, remember, you can get in on the fun with Yahoo's Bracket Mayhem game for both the men's and the women's tournament. We got them both. And by the way, Ice is going to do God's work, covering not just only this tournament, but also the women's tournament. She is a rock star. Turn your brackets into $50,000. Fill out a bracket, enter for a chance to win $25K in both tournaments. Head to yahoofantasy.com/tourney to sign up again. yahoofantasy.com/tourney. We're going to keep going through the brackets. Midwest is up next. And I'm going to go back to what I asked you guys at the beginning. Like, to me, when the Midwest was released, I sat there and thought, Houston. Like, Houston, you mentioned it, 3rd straight year with the number 1 seed. At some point, Houston is not just this fun little cute story. At some point, they're a perennial contender that always gets the number 1 seed because they're really good. And I feel like in previous years, they were one-sided. Like they didn't do both things. This year, they can. So I feel like Houston's being overlooked.
Yeah, how they ran through the Big 12. Yeah. We talk about the SEC so much because it was so dominant, but how Houston ran through the Big 12 was impressive to me. They had battle after battle after battle and beat different teams like Iowa State in a different way, Purdue in a different way. I really think about Houston, that their defense is going to dictate for every game. Every single game that they play in this tournament, their defense is going to dictate how far they can get. I have them getting all the way to the Final Four. I'm not seeing another team other than Tennessee that could possibly ruin that. And it's a Tennessee team that I love, actually, very much. I wish I was wearing orange today for them. I actually really, really like Tennessee. They're the 2 seed in this bracket, but I think I have Houston advancing.
I agree with you. Houston is the best team. Flying under the radar is always great coming into the tournament. But their second round game could be either Gonzaga or Georgia. And I love that because then it's a test now, right? So now we have a chance to play against some really good competition to see if we can go to the Sweet 16. Houston shows up, great coaching, great defense. They have what it takes to win the national championship.
Georgia hasn't won a tourney game in 23 years.
Oh,
Oof.
I just think about that. Like
23 years?
23 years. That's what they said earlier on the
I was
selection
barely
show.
6.
Okay, what are we doing here?
wow.
Me and
I
my
said that
walker
to
are
make
going to
him
have to
feel
leave. I'm
old.
just going to get
I said that
get my
purposely to
cane
make
walking
him
on
feel
out.
old.
I'm like, okay. But I do like that call a lot. Houston, where were you?
I mean, I have them winning this bracket for sure. I mean, Houston, elite defense, and we're seeing the sparks from their offense. Uzan, 20-plus point performance, his ability to connect as a playmaker, but also just the scoring ability. At Oklahoma, he was a shaky shooter. He's improved in that regard. I just love him. I just think Uzan is one of those guys. To me, he's a first-round pick. I have him ranked in my top 25. I have a feeling after this tournament, a hell of a lot of people are going to have him there as well. Just one of those guys who does everything well and is one of the reasons why at the guard spot, this Houston defense has absolutely no holes on it.
Yeah, I think, sometimes in the tournament, the main guy is the one who gets all the attention, but it's Uzan who normally I feel like picks up the slack for Houston when maybe an LJ Cryer isn't scoring.
Yes.
So I think that he could be due for some big games in the tournament because the focal point is on somebody else.
He's a spark.
Yeah.
Like that's what he is with his passing, the clutch shot making, the defensive energy that he brings as a playmaker on defense and passing lanes. He just sparks something for you.
Yeah.
He's one of those types of guys, one of the best transfer acquisitions by far of the past year.
I do think, guys, when we look at this bracket overall, it gets interesting to me if we want to play a little bit of forward looking. You got Tennessee in a pretty good situation.
Right.
You got Kentucky in a situation that they feel good about. You got Illinois taking on possibly a Texas team. You've got in the top half of it Georgia taking on Houston, as we just mentioned, if they're able to advance. This is a very SEC-heavy bracket at this point. Like this particular region, you could end up with teams that have seen a lot of each other, seeing each other again in the NCAA tournament in ways that are unprecedented, and this is one of the challenges they had. When you have 14 teams, there's just no way to spread them out. It just feels like this ends up being the SEC Midwest in a couple of rounds, depending on how things play out. I think that's kind of wildly cool.
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity to see Texas and Kentucky play. I think Texas has a decent chance to beat Xavier, and then Illinois, a great offensive scoring team, but when their offense isn't hitting and it's not on, they're non-existent. The 4 of us could beat them. So I feel like Texas could have a really good chance to win 2 games.
I don't think you've seen the 2 of us trying to, like, our offense is going to be very simple. If either of us get the ball, we're getting it right to you guys. So,
That's a good plan.
Okay, that is.
Hopefully don't turn it over too much like Yahoo. That might be the issue right
In this bracket, too, I think we got to give Clemson some love, right? I think we just kind of overlooking Clemson. I know McNeese State can be the Cinderella team, but Clemson has finished the season really well, 14-1 in their last 15. They also beat Duke. They lost to Louisville in the tournament, but Clemson is a sleeper team. I think everybody's overlooking them. They're the only ACC team in it, and I think that they have a chance. And they got brothers on the team, and I like that.
Ian Shefflin, good player for them, like a kind of like that garbage, like I'm just going to outwork you, somebody that I don't want to see on the floor. I think what Clemson has going for them is their toughness.
Yeah.
I actually think that the way that they battle on the boards and defensively gives them a chance because they actually play very, very tough basketball. And they've been the only other team in the ACC that we've kept our eye on. Everyone else has been subpar.
Kevin, player to watch in this whole region. Who you got your eye on?
Kasparas Yakachunas.
You just wanted to say that. Just be honest. You
How
just
many
wanted
times
to say
did you
it.
Say that
practice
3 times fast.
KJ Yakachunas is a love him or hate him player. On one hand, you love the fact he's a creative playmaker. You see the juices, the way he passes the ball and creates for his teammates. You see the step-back threes with the way he can generate offense for himself and others. But 9 games this season with more turnovers than made shots. You cannot turn the ball over in March. You can't do that. And so for him, there's a lot to prove from an NBA perspective here. Can you generate consistent, reliable offense? And then obviously for Illinois, what could be a very tough opening round matchup against Texas or Xavier, regardless of who wins that game as an 11 seed. I worry about Illinois there, but he's got a lot to prove, and who knows, maybe he ends up going on a great run, taking care of the ball, more like he did at the beginning of the season.
I don't have any stat to back this up. I just don't feel like from watching turnover-prone people get less turnover-prone in the tournament. Like,
Right.
It's usually not the time you fix your problems. It's like, dating a girl that has a million issues and then marrying her. That's not how you fix any of
Pay
those
attention
issues.
to those red flags.
Ice is always in for my weird
Yeah.
dating analogies. I'm always like, you know what? You don't marry her and then fix everything.
Gotta
That's
stop
just-
ignoring the red flags.
that's
Don't ignore him.
Right.
Fix her. Okay, give me your pick. Kevin, who do you got in this one?
And I got Houston in the Midwest.
Okay.
I have Houston.
Marcus?
Houston.
God, we're boring. I have Houston.
How can you not pick him now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Defense. It's March. You need defense. We're boring, but I think they're reliable.
I'd love to get cute, y'all. The problem is they clip this off, and then they put it out in the world. And so if you're the person that suddenly picks Clemson to go, and then you're wrong, all of a sudden, yap, over and over. So, yeah, no, it's just better to be safe.
I've been 1 for 12, plenty to draft. It's okay. It's all good. Trust me.
It's a perfect callback.
I just want to say the last thing about this bracket is that 8-9 game between Gonzaga and Georgia is crazy. Because the Zags normally are an 8 seed. That is really uncharacteristic of them to be this low, and they had a tough season. But I think that is an 8 seed that's probably a 5 seed normally with the rest of the teams on this side. So even though we're going Houston, they will have a challenge in that second game if Gonzaga is able to survive in advance.
It is interesting how many brands, like in college basketball, we're used to being great, and this year seem to be a little bit off. And it's like, does that just smooth out when we get into the tournament? Because they've been there so many times and they have so much knowledge. Let's go to the West bracket as we're breaking down every single bracket for you here. Let's go to the West, and obviously, Marcus, I'll just throw to you on this one because I watched this bracket come out, and all I kept thinking is, this bracket is this is hell. This is the hell on earth bracket.
This is the best bracket. And
Or
I'm
worse.
upset.
Or worst. The best in terms of the teams, or
Teams.
worst in
I
terms
was-
of the route to the Final Four?
Both.
Okay, okay.
Listen, man, I had Florida to make it to win it all, and I also had St. John's to make it and win it all. I'm a little upset that they have to go through each other to get to the 4, but you got Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas, St. John's, Memphis that have been playing really well, Oklahoma. This is a tough bracket right here. I'm excited to see who comes out of this one.
UConn and an 8 seed?
Crazy.
LOL.
Crazy. Crazy.
Like, not being funny, but being funny. The back-to-back champs are an 8 seed. And I don't care what you say about what they lost from last season, what they've done this season. Anytime that you see Dan Hurley across from you on the bench, you got to be a little bit nervous. You got to be a little bit nervous because this time of year he specializes in winning. I think for UConn, their guard play is going to be important, but I actually think Oklahoma will knock them out. I think Oklahoma is going to roll, and we're going to see the SEC battle-tested teams.
Jeremiah Fears,
Yep.
Ice.
You already know it. You on
Not-
my side with this.
I mean, we definitely. I mean,
come on.
94th ranked defense for UConn, shaky perimeter defense,
Mm.
and then you got to contain this nasty perimeter guy who has speed and can change pace. And Jeremiah,
Young,
he's
though.
an NBA-level
Young.
player.
He's young.
He is young.
Yeah.
Lights
On
get
a
bright.
big stage.
So what do you do when you've got a young guy that you need to rely on to win the championship?
I mean, you give him the keys. You have to give him the keys. And they've been doing that all season. But this is a little different right here. You get on these bright lights, everyone's watching. In his mind, he's probably thinking my NBA stock, my NBA ranking depends on this one game or 2 games. So I love him. I think he's very fearless. He's a really good player, to your point, a really good point guard.
Game-winning and one against Michigan early in the year.
I
big
loved
stage.
it. I loved it.
Led his team back almost against Kentucky just last weekend. Down 10 with about a minute left. He gets a bucket and a steal and another steal. Creates for a teammate. Fears, it's in the name. He's had no fear in those moments.
Babyface assassin, baby. I see. He looks like he's 12 years old.
You're right. It is different on this stage. And UConn, I mean, even though they're not the same this year, it's still UConn. Like maybe there is a bit more pressure there.
Yeah.
But this is where, I mean, brackets matter, right? Like Florida, they just won the SEC tournament. I think we're deserving of a higher number 1 seed. And instead, they get stuck in the West. And now, whether they're taking on UConn or Oklahoma, that could be a tough matchup. We mentioned Memphis has been really good this year. We've talked how many times on this show about Maryland already. That would be after that. And then their gift from all of this could be if they get all the way to the Elite Eight to take on St. John's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is tough. There was no love given to Florida on this bracket. I also tell you what, that 5-12 game between Memphis and Colorado State, Nick Clifford is a name that we don't talk about a ton because he's all the way in Colorado State, and so we're not paying that much attention. But, man, he can be a game changer at the next level. I've caught a ton of his games at Colorado State. He's a player that can drop 25 at will, versatile, from 3, mid-range, in the post. I very much like Nick Clifford.
Ice, I got him ranked on the lottery.
Oh, Kev, we're here today,
I know,
Kev.
we got
we're
this.
Really teammates.
We got this.
I love it.
Look, you look at Nick Clifford, there's like no weaknesses, no flaws. He checks every box with what you're looking for from an NBA player. And for Colorado State, I mean, like, I don't know if you want to pick a 12 over a 5. I don't know if you want to pick them to go all the way to a Sweet 16. Maybe they beat Maryland in the second round. But I wouldn't rule it out with Nick Clifford. People are about to find out who this guy is and how he checks every box as a scorer, playmaker, defender, tone setter. I love Nick Clifford. I have him as a lottery pick, and this is going to be the chance for him to really prove it against Memphis in the first round.
Exactly. The most important part, that he went back to Colorado State
Yes.
and said, listen, I'm going to will us back to the tournament. I'm going to get us to where we need to be to show you my ranking, my stock, and possibly being an NBA player, right? Size, can post, good defender. I like Nick.
Yeah, there's something to be said about him not going to a Power 4 school, right? And joining maybe a core group and then becoming the 4th option or a 2nd option. He is the option, but he also makes his teammates around him better. I'm telling y'all, if y'all haven't watched Nick Clifford play, please catch their game in the tournament. He is must-see TV.
I'm going to take the other side of that matchup for 1 second. I've done a weekly radio interview with Memphis for years, so I love that city, and I've watched a lot of Memphis basketball. There's been a change this year for Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
And I think for years, Penny had this pressure to be Penny, and he was trying to run that whole program like a rock star running a program that had those expectations. It was like every year they were trying to buy a different hodgepodge group of talent, and it just never came together. This has felt like, honestly, the first year where it's been, they're under the radar in that sense. The lights are off, and they're just focused on being a better basketball team. And Memphis is better for it. Like, it's a better version of Memphis than
I like Memphis. I like Memphis a lot. PJ Haggerty, walking bucket.
Yeah.
In the tournament, you need a guy that can get a bucket. Dane Danger. They entered him into the starting lineup, and they became instantly a better team. He is an NBA player. He can post. He got touch. He can pass. I like those two to head that team and maybe get a little bit further than what's expected.
I was going to say, I could see Memphis winning 2 games.
Yeah.
They're good. That would hurt Marcus, though, because they're going to hit Florida.
That would hurt Marcus.
But I could see Memphis winning 2 games for sure.
I don't want to sleep on it. Second round could give us Cal versus Patino, which I think the entire world needs.
Please.
Please, basketball gods. I don't ask for
Keep
much.
the camera on both coaches at all times. So on the split box.
A little ISO cam in the corner.
Don't even introduce the teams in that situation. Just introduce the 2 players. Let them go to the center. Let them take everything. Let them take everything out. Region. Let's get the picks in. Marcus, what do you got for us?
I said Florida, and I'm going to stick with Florida.
Oh, I thought you was about to walk that
I
back.
thought he was walking on that.
Hey, I looked at my phone, and my brother texted me. He said, you better not say St. John's. And I looked at it, and I said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to say Florida, because that's my pick. They've been the hottest team on paper. SEC, I have to go with Florida.
I'm with Ice. I thought you were about to Michael Jackson and just moonwalk that whole thing back. You were just
Almost.
like, look, I'm going St. John's. I'm going St. John's. Yeah. Look.
So you waited for me to say Florida so you can say St.
100%.
John's.
You know, tell your brother to text me. No, I'm going St. John's on this one. They are just such a well-coached, and I don't think we can say that enough. And I think if there's anything that's come clear for me in the last hour that is just one of my tenets, like I trust coaches during the NCAA tournament. I need a coach that on 24 hours can best prepare his team. And it's just, man, when you see the way that team is coached, they don't make a lot of mistakes. There aren't a lot of unforced errors. They swarm on the defensive side of the ball. I really like this St. John's.
Yeah, they got the word in March that you want, which is momentum. Momentum is such a tricky thing to get a hold of in March, but once you got it and it's rolling for you, and right now New York's team has the momentum. I am still going Florida, but I'm going to say this. I'm not surprised at all if St. John's is in the Final Four. I think they have the DNA to get there. I think the X factor for them is Zuby Ejiofor. I truly believe that the big man inside is going to make the difference for St. John's, whereas we've been looking at R.J. Lewis all season and what he's been able to do, or Lewis Jr., excuse me, but I swear to you, Ejiofor is going to be the difference if St. John's makes to a Final Four.
A big man being the difference. This is college basketball. It's amazing. What do you got for us?
I got 2 1 seeds and then a 2 seed right now in the Final Four. I got to go with somebody else. So Texas Tech, right now I have them going as a 3 seed. I'm not going super far here, but Texas Tech, JT Toppin, Williams, they got size, they have versatility, they have NBA level talent, and I like their path. UNC Wilmington in the first round, and then either Drake or Missouri in the second round. Potential tough matchup, but I think we're going to see them at least get to a Sweet 16 here, and I'll pick them to go all the way to the Final Four.
I like that.
That's a good pick. I think that's a good pick.
Kevin coming out and just giving us a little bit of
They're 3 seeds. I'm not picking a 6.
All right, so we've been talking about players to watch. Let's each pick one for the whole tournament, not just for a region, but one person that you've really got your eye on. And we'll start, of course, with Kevin. Like, who's the one person you're watching the most in this tournament?
We mentioned him earlier, Derik Queen from Maryland. I just love watching this dude play basketball. Marcus Morris compared him earlier to like a DeMarcus Cousins boogie. I think that's a great comp. Derik Queen, he's got the fluidity, the handle, the spin moves. He can even pass a little bit, even though it doesn't show up in the numbers. Great rebounder, versatile offensively, developing, blossoming shooter as well. But the dude gets to the bucket as will. Give him the ball behind the three-point line. He's going to find a way to get to the rim. So Derik Queen, a player I love to watch, and I also can't wait to see how he performs in some of these tough matchups.
Nice.
Good pick. Yeah, I'm going Houston's LJ Cryer. Guard play this time of year is so important. You need an experienced guard, one that can score the basketball at a high level, and LJ Cryer can do that. He averages 15, but he can give you 23, 25 day in and day out. His assist numbers aren't high because he is a scorer. That's not his job on this team. I think come tournament time, they're going to rely on him to get a lot of clutch buckets.
I know I didn't pick St. John's as my team to win it, but I got to go R.J. Lewis Jr. Again.
Love it.
Complete player.
Yep.
He's very flourishing under Rick Pitino. Plays both sides of the ball, can score at 3 levels. He is a bucket getter. He leads the nation in offensive rebounding as a guard. He is a complete player. Size, he's not afraid of the lights. I like him to get busy.
I like that pick a lot. I'm going to go with somebody we teased earlier that I've been talking about, I feel like, on our show, College Basketball Power Hour, for a minute. Jase Richardson, Michigan State. I said it earlier, I love coaches that I can trust, but I also love guards that I can trust. And the numbers are not as intimidating when you see him here on the screen as some of the other players that we've talked about in this process. But to me, Jase is a guy that the moment's never too big for him. He cuts to the basket aggressively when they need a bucket. And I think one of the hardest things to get back is momentum in the NCAA tournament. When you don't have it and you need somebody that's going to force contact and just stop a run, that's something that Jase does really well. And he's going to have to, because I believe Michigan State can advance in this tournament, but I also, because I don't trust their ability to shoot the three, they're going to be slashing a lot. Their guard room in general is really good, but Jase is going to have to play lights out.
I'd imagine they inserted him into the starting 5 in part for that reason, knowing that they need that juice from him offensively. Shoots almost 70% at the rim this year as a 6'3" guard. That's not just off of cuts, it's off of a lot of self-created chances, as you said, Jason. Son of an NBA player, Jason Richardson, feels like a guy who's more seasoned and more advanced than you would expect for somebody as a freshman. And the dude's a bucket.
Yeah.
Like the step back threes, the sidestep threes, he can generate his own shot and play off ball. I love the dude. I have him as a top 10 pick right now, and I know a lot of people have him late first round. I think it's going to become apparent as Michigan State makes their run. how freaking good that dude is.
Well, and he'll just need to knock down the three. You know, he is the most consistent threat that they have. So
if he gets hot,
it's over. But if he's not hot, it'll look like a normal day for Sparty.
Yeah.
They'll score in the paint.
It is interesting. Their offensive efficiency numbers from 2 are incredible. They have to be because they can't shoot. Like if you're trading 2s for 3s, then you better. My biggest concern for them in this whole tournament is that if they start taking on a team that is just a hot outside shooter, they're not going to be able to keep up bucket for bucket.
I'm not a big fan of Michigan State. I'm gonna just leave that there. You got your freshman guard. You have to lean on to win games. He wasn't even a starter. They had to put him in the starting lineup because they could not score the ball. They had to show something different. I'm not a big fan of that. I like him as a player. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big fan of him carrying Michigan State. I can't see that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about your Jayhawks.
We did not talk about your
And
Jayhawks.
they're in a 7-10 game in the West region versus Arkansas. Did we not talk about them because you're not feeling so confident?
You know what? No comment.
Oh, that's not fair.
You know what? I'm gonna talk about him because we do have a really good player in Hunter Dickerson that's really seasoned. You know, we've been struggling, right? But this is the time where we have a week of practice. We have a chance to turn it around. It's something I wouldn't jump off a bridge and say they're going to win. I have to see it, man. I have to see the demeanor. I just don't see the fight. I don't see the energy that I'm looking for. I was at the Big 12 tournament, and it just felt so different than normal years of being a Jayhawk. And you know, and I talked to Coach Self, so we understand this. It's just different, man. I have to see something. They have no bench depth, no consistency. I have to see something different, and it's going to be tough because it's a quick turnaround. So I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket.
It's also an Arkansas team that gets Boogie Flam back. That will make a difference.
That's huge.
That will make a difference.
I saw a great headline that will either make you sad or happy. I don't know. Marcus, the last time Kansas didn't have a top 4 seed, Destiny's Child still was in existence.
Oh,
My name.
You know what? They're still in existence in our hearts.
They
Hey, they're still in
they
existence
are
in our hearts.
my everyday
And a
playlist.
little different. I'm hoping that they're watching this and they're saying, "Hey, OG, we're gonna prove you wrong. We're gonna prove you wrong, and we're gonna get out there and play." Because of now, I cannot put my eggs in that basket.
I thought you meant Destiny's Child, and I was like, well, everybody other than Beyonce's got some time right now. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's get you some title odds. BetMGM's got the odds up already for us. Taking a look at some of the top title odds out there. You see that Florida's at plus 350, Duke 360, Auburn 400, Houston 600, Alabama plus 1200. Now, we're going to give you our title picks in a second, but when you're talking about odds, sometimes it's like, hey, the odds on that are so good. Like, we've had this whole conversation. We all seem to have Houston in proximity. Houston at plus 600 seems like that's a pretty reasonable bet out there to make.
I'm taking Houston at that 600. Even if they do lose, that's great odds. Obviously, Florida at 350. I had Florida before, so Houston at 600. We can make some real money.
I'm a little surprised they got Florida as the favorite considering how tough that side of the bracket is.
Yeah, that is very true. I also feel like I wish I'd bet that on Florida about a week and a half ago before this season. And a lot better money on it right then.
Exactly.
All right, so as we wrap things up, we want to make sure, number one, that you guys get in on the action. Remember, you can join in and play with the Yahoo's Brackets Mayhem game for both the men's and the women's tournaments. Turn your brackets into $50,000. Fill out a bracket, enter to win for a chance to win $25,000 in both tournaments. Head to yahoofantasy.com/tourney to sign up. That's all you got to do. yahoofantasy.com/tourney. We've gone this far, and we haven't given you our final 4 picks. It feels like we should. Let's give our final 4 picks presented by Venmo. If you've been watching the whole hour, we appreciate you. You've sort of seen some of this, but we're going to go through the entire thing. So what we're going to do, each of you will give your final 4 down to your championship game, down to your champion. Ice, you get to go first. Give us your final 4.
Okay, let's start it off. I have 2 seed Michigan State advancing. They will beat Auburn. I love Michigan State. I think that their defense is going to carry them throughout the tournament, and Tom Izzo's coaching get them to a Final 4. On the other side, I have Duke. I think they have the easiest route in terms of all the number 1 seeds. Obviously, with a healthy Cooper Flagg, they should be good to get to a Final Four. I have Florida, the most balanced team right now in America. Offensively and defensively, they have high powers on both sides of the basketball, and they're a battle test in the SEC. It's a team that is 30-4. They just haven't lost much this year. I don't think they're going to lose much more. And then I've got Houston. Down with the defense on the road. They're going to make every game look ugly, but you're going to want to watch it anyway because Houston is going to win basketball games. In the end, I have got Florida and Houston playing each other for a national championship, and it is Houston that will win. The Cougars will get to national championship. 3 years in a row they've had the number 1 seed. They will cash in on that this year.
I cannot imagine being in San Antonio for the Final Four and Houston's there. That is a home court advantage that is going to be, they will make that.
I didn't even think about that in my pick, but you're
right.
right. You're right.
All right, Marcus.
Double down on that.
Yeah, I'm going to run out and put this money out on you. Forget the rest of the show. Y'all figure it out. I got betting to do. Marcus, go ahead and give us your Final Four picks.
I know earlier I talked down on Auburn, but I'm switching it back. I like Auburn to come out of there. Janai Broome is a great player. I have to go back with the player of the year. I'm going to go with Janai Broome, Auburn. Then Florida, that's my pick. I love Florida playing really well, scoring the ball at an extremely high level. It's very important to play well coming into the tournament. And I got to go with the Blue Devils. The young guns can play. Coop come back. If he comes back fully healthy, they're definitely taking that one. And then obviously the Dogs. I got to go with Houston. Defense first. They've been lights out all season, well coached. And then we get to the Final Four. Florida versus Auburn. Got to go with Florida. Auburn has been a great team, number 1 overall seed, but Florida is well equipped to knock Auburn off. Duke versus Houston. This is where it stops for the young guns. I think Houston just too many dogs. The dogs are just going to take over this game. The veterans are going to come out. I got Houston and Florida in the national championship, and I'm going to take that plus 350, and I'm going to take Florida.
Man. That's
I'm
fire.
Take Florida.
He lined it up in a way that he talked me into it. I feel like I don't love my picks.
Come back to the
Come back to the Houston side. All right, Kevin, you're up next. Give us your Final Four, my friend.
All right, I have 3 top defenses in my Final Four. Duke, number 1 seed, going to the Final Four. Michigan State, Jase Richardson, we talked a lot about him earlier with what he can do offensively, but Michigan State's defense is what makes you feel really solid in them. Houston, as mentioned, just a bunch of dogs on that team, have them in the Final Four. Texas Tech as well as a 3 seed, number 6 offensive rating this year, a solid defense, top 40. So that's my Final Four. In the finals, I have Michigan State against Duke in the championship game with Duke and Cooper Flagg and all their young guys. Tyrese Proctor is an older guy coming back, finally winning a national championship and stepped up this year. Con Knipple, but ultimately Cooper Flagg is why they're going to win it all with what he can do. And I think the level we'll see him reach in this tournament.
Oh, Duke winning a national championship. Never heard that story before. Okay, I get to go last. I'll give you my Final Four. And I think if you've been watching this whole show, you figured out that I trust coaches that have been there before, that know what they're doing, that can put their teams in the best situation. And that's reflected in my Final Four. Out of the East, it's impossible for me, or sorry, I should say out of the South, it's impossible for me not to take Michigan State. I've laid out why I think they have the best path to get to the championship. That's going to be fine for them. Down in the West, St. John's. By the way, when Michigan State advances, I will text Marcus after every one of the wins and say, you up? Just to see how we're doing on this one. Michigan State advances. St. John's advances. This one was the toughest one for me to pick. I think it's the toughest bracket. But again, they are playing like a bunch of dogs on the floor constantly. I trust their coach. That becomes a great matchup. On the other side, Duke is just too talented all the way across the board. And I believe that Cooper Flagg will be Cooper Flagg. And if you've watched a lot of that this year, it's dominant. So then they're taking on Houston, and that's where it gets really interesting to me. I'm going to presume that we have the best in health of Cooper Flagg for this matchup. If that is the case, then Duke, I just don't think anybody can slow down the way that they'll be able to win. So Duke beats Houston, and they're taking on St. John's. This one was a tough one for me, but offensively, there are too many question marks. Consistency for the ability to shoot for Michigan State, taking on a St. John's team that will swarm them at every possible outlet, which means we get the ultimate villain bowl. Like, we get the ultimate, you get Duke versus St. John's. Everybody's going to have a side they're not rooting for in that, which is delightful, but the ultimate villain wins. Duke, gets another national championship for me. I don't feel good about saying, look, as a kid that grew up in Vegas, like grew up going to UNLV games as a kid, like Duke made me cry when I was a kid. I never liked picking Duke. It hurts my soul to do it, but
I can't. As a Syracuse Orange, I can't.
I can't. I feel like I have to.
Hey, did you take St. John's because I took Florida?
No, I took St. John's. Well, I mean,
Okay,
I mean, there's got to be.
Fitz went with the 2 seeds.
I went with the 2s.
You believe in the 2 seeds, and I like the picks.
I'm telling you, if there was a part of me that thought about going other than Alabama because of health issues, I thought about going all 2s. Like Tennessee could easily make this Final Four.
100%.
Like it's wild that we're in a situation where there are 8 to 10 teams right now that I think all have a real chance at the national championship.
Will we see 4 SEC teams in the Final Four?
I'm not mad at it.
Not bad.
I'm not mad. Like,
By the odds and numbers, it would make the most sense.
I want one of 2 things: either 4 SEC teams or no SEC, which will then piss everybody off about why the SEC is wildly overrated. This hasn't been overrated. It's been a blast for us. If you had a blast listening to Ice and I particularly, we also hang out with Caroline Fenton every week for the College Basketball Power Hour on Yahoo Sports. Please check it out. It's always a blast for us to get to do that. We are going to tape that tonight, actually, so there'll be an episode for you wherever you get your pods, however you get your audio fun. College Basketball Power Hour is right there for you. Check it out on Yahoo Sports and YouTube and everywhere else. In the meantime, we couldn't do this show without tremendous help behind the scenes. So it's a large crew here that put this show together and makes us look great and makes us good at our job. Stan, Evan, Jason, everybody involved behind the scenes. We truly love you guys. We appreciate everybody that takes the time, and for our bosses for letting us do this. Thank you for listening. It's been a blast. We're going to continue hanging out with you throughout the course of the NCAA tournament. Don't miss it. We got you covered through the Final Four. We'll be there in person giving you reactions from San Antonio. So this is just the beginning of the fun for the March Madness journey that we're all on. This has been Tourney Bracket Live. For Kevin O'Connor, for Ice Young, for Marcus Morris, I'm Jason Fitz. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.